Welcome to the Dirty Side of Leadership podcast with Ron and Kristin, where leadership meets entertainment. This podcast features stories with names and certain aspects that have been changed to keep submissions private. Enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Dirty Side of Leadership podcast, where leadership meets entertainment. I want to thank everybody for the huge response to last week's episode where we were talking about reclaiming your focus in a distracted world. Clearly, it was a needed topic for so many. I want to also thank the new subscribers that we have. Let's not discount the amazing existing and loyal subscribers we've had, but we have picked up so many new folks all across the world, and it means so much to us. So today we are going to take you down another road where we're going to talk about motivation. There's a major lack of motivation nowadays, and we are going to delve into that. Right, Ron?
We sure are. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, Kristin.
Yeah.
I remember I was on a podcast and they asked me like one word, what's one leadership word that is so needed? And I remember saying consistency. I felt so good about that. The podcast interviewer agreed with me. But then I started to do a little deep dive on that. And I started thinking, wait a minute, you cannot be consistent without motivation.
Right.
Motivation gets us up in the morning. It's the key to innovation. It is also the key, there's a great book called Atomic Habits. It's the key to getting to those atomic habits that we all want. We all want these dynamic habits in our lives. And if we are unmotivated, it's just not going to happen. As a matter of fact, people who are motivated are more prone to be healthy. They're more prone to reach their goals. They're more prone to be wealthy. It is amazing what motivation can do. And if you get a group of people together, Kristin, and they're discussing ideas and they really get motivated, I'm telling you, they can impact the world. That's how powerful of a force that motivation is. But what happens is everybody experiences motivation in their life. But then all of a sudden, reality sets in, life sets in. And we just start to feel unmotivated. But I want to remind our listeners and our viewers that everyone goes through that. It's not just you. Yes, there's some people are motivated a lot more than others, but it does happen. Stress comes in, changes in your circumstances, money issues. There's things that happen. So what we have to do is find ways to keep ourselves motivated when those tough times comes in, and not overly judge ourselves in a negative way so that we, as we always say, we can get back on the horse.
Right.
So Kristin and I are really, I hope, going to spark a fresh inspiration so that you can crush your goals with these I think they're genius, motivational hacks.
Yeah.
So keep these in your pockets. And on those days you're not feeling inspired, listen to this podcast again if you need to, but don't give up. Go back to your plan. Do not give up.
I know. I personally feel like I even took a survey recently. I love just taking surveys.
Apparently you do.
I think I've taken every personality test and survey out there. It's just like, I'm like waiting for one to tell me something I don't know, right? But I took one recently and it was like, do you find that you have sudden bursts of motivation? Like I'm a bursty motivation person. I'm like, yeah, that's totally me. I like to stay busy, but I do find that I'm more of a burst of motivation person. Like it might be like 20 bursts throughout the day, right? But they do come in bursts. I don't know. I just said bursts like 10 times, but it's true. So one of those bursts, you have to think about, really when I used to manage, especially the younger generations, I would always figure out what's in it for them and then position whatever I needed them to do in a what's in it for them or what are they going to gain from it perspective, right? And so, and for us, it just comes back to determining your why or our why. And actually, there's a popular book called Find Your Why by Simon Sinek. And it's basically you're finding what drives you. And there's so many reasons that that's important. I mean, the number one motivation hack, like I just said, is determining your why. And if you want to muster up that motivation and you want to give your goals meaning and a purpose, and why are you getting started in the first place, right? what are your goals and why did you set them? I mean, we're all setting goals for a reason. Some things we have to do, and that's just part of being an adult and a human functioning in society. But some of them we get to do them because we are really excited about it. Maybe it's church, maybe it's getting in shape, maybe it's something in the community, maybe it's a hobby. But you have to find that why and understand it to be able to really drive it.
No, that's so good. Number two is, this one's going to sound weird, harness your inner child. And Kristin, I did a post recently, and this is part of the executive coaching program, is you have someone visualize those compartments of our brain. And, in some compartments, we got courage, we got different parts of our lives, but there's also things that hold us back. And I realized that I had a fear of failure.
Mm-hmm.
And these podcasts, when you and I talk about the stuff, I think about it even after the fact.
Right.
And
Same.
I started realizing that a fear of failure sometimes hinders me from even getting in the arena. And I'm not talking about necessarily relationships. I'm literally talking about business. Like,
Right.
I'm running a company and I want it to be successful. And I'm so driven that sometimes I don't want to make the phone calls because I don't like the rejection of not
Right.
making a sale or whatever. So I began to think about how when we are younger, we're on this permanent adventure. And Kristin, I'm taking my little grandson, Nathan, and my daughter. We're going into Virginia to visit my parents. But on Saturday, they bring all these kids together and they put all these trout. It's a fish, it's a stream, but they kind of have it dammed up. So you're guaranteed to catch fish.
Like a fish farm type deal?
Kind of like that,
Yeah.
yes. So anyway, I took him to Dick's Sporting Goods. We've looked at rod and reels. If you only knew, he's boiling over with excitement. And also, my dad had a birthday, so he determined he wants to throw my dad a birthday party. Of course, it's all about him. It's all about him. He's picked the colors of the cakes, and he wants balloons and all this. Yeah. So, but when I'm with him, I notice we're in this bubble. Like, I don't care. World War III can go on. It's just me and Nathan. It's all I care about.
That's so cool.
But he's always excited and he's always on this venture. And what happens to us in life is we're all like that as a kid, outside of trauma. If you had a decent childhood, everything's exciting. And then responsibilities and all these things in life happens and we lose our inner child.
Right.
So I want to encourage, if you have been someone who's been motivated for a brief period of time and then you just drop off and then you kind of, my daughters used to always ask me on a trip, what's your peaks and pits? And you go from, peak to pit. What is keeping you in that pit? We have to sustain some level of motivation so that we at least stay on the playing field and we're not in the bleachers.
Right.
So if you want to stay motivated, try to keep it fun, fresh, and exciting. Yeah. Schedule something to look forward to in your calendar once a week. I like to, reward myself. If I've worked out hard, I might eat a few more peanut M&Ms.
That is my favorite, literally.
It's mine as well.
Oh my! Wait, peanut or peanut butter?
Peanut.
Okay, I'm peanut butter. Oh my gosh, yes.
Anyway, put something in there that you look forward to and just say, like, I'm going to be excited about this. Sometimes when you just speak the words, like, I'm so much looking forward to this.
Yeah.
I get to do this, and just harness your inner child. It works.
I love it. See, initially when you said harness, I was thinking literally like a car seat. So like restricting your inner child. But no, I think that's fantastic because it is sad. Even when my son will be like, hey, you want to play Godzilla? He loves Godzilla. And I'm like, what do you want to play? Like, what's the objective? Do you want like a war? Or he's like, just play, right? I feel like I've lost a lot of that imagination. And so, so I have to really think about it. I'm like, and I say to myself, that is sad. So I think that's great to go back and think, gosh, we want to have that excitement. We want that to stay.
Kristin, I got to tell a story. Our listeners will appreciate this. This is typical Ron Ward. So my daughter wanted me to play with her dolls and teddies and all that stuff.
Yeah.
She's got her favorite teddy bear and all that. So what do? I have her do job interviews.
Yes.
So she's the CEO, though. I made sure she was, she's in charge. She's the CEO. So I got these dolls and bears, and we write out interview questions. She's going to ask them.
Oh,
I'll
that's
never forget this. I had
fantastic.
this little bitty teddy bear, and I came up and I talked with a young voice. And finally she goes, now keep in mind,
Can
she's
we
like,
hear that young voice?
oh, I'm trying.
Give it to us, Ron. Give it to us.
Do you have a job? Anyway.
Yes.
So, Kristin. So here's the funny part. It was small, and I'm talking in that squeaky voice. And finally she goes, how old are you? Now, keep in mind, Jansen, my daughter, is probably 6 or 7 when this is happening. She goes, how old are you? And I go, I'm 9 or something. And she goes, oh, I'm sorry. You're too young to work here. And so, look, I put my head down. I started walking off. She said, wait. How about an internship? When she said that, I exploded.
That's amazing.
That she knew the word internship.
Heck
and
yeah.
I was trying to hold it back. I was laughing. I was just like, yes, I'll take it. You made me think of that when your son
love
was
that story. Yes. I mean, how lame for me to be like, okay, what's the objective? Is Godzilla a friend, a foe? Like, what's the deal? But yeah, I like that she knew internship.
That's what Kristin offered me at first with the podcast, but I finally got a position.
An internship, yes. Perfect time to segue into daily affirmations. Oh, what is that? There was a great movie, and it was like remember the one where he talked about pound cake, and anyways, but he had him say in the mirror, "You are special. You are." Oh, that it was an SNL comedian. I will think of it by the end of this episode. But daily affirmations are incredible. We've talked about the science on this before, Ron, but really the power of them. So they work to create new neural pathways. I mean, that it's science. It's not just us being, my husband, when I use like essential oils or something, he'll be like, oh, what are you using that, hoiky toiky? I don't know what he calls it, but he makes fun of my essential oils. And I can see people doing that with daily affirmations also, unless they actually understand that it does create new neural pathways in the brain that enforce a particular belief. The other thing is research shows that positive daily affirmations decrease stress. On top of that, reduce negative thoughts and increase the resilience that we all have when unexpected bumps in the road arise. And it's not a matter of if, it's when, right? And that's why we purposely put when on here, because everyone is going to hit a bump in the road. And, for instance, if you want to build more confidence, you would say affirmations that build your self-esteem. So in this case, you can use affirmations that would keep you motivated, right? That's what we're talking about here, staying motivated. I am unstoppable. I am successful. Today will be a productive day. I am filled with focus. Say or write them. We've talked about this, though. Saying out loud, you want your brain to hear it through your ears so you can write them, but also make sure you are audibly saying them.
Yeah, I'm not sure I believed you. Could you repeat those and say it like you mean it?
Oh my gosh. I thought I was pretty good.
I am unstoppable.
I am unstoppable.
There you go. Yes, you are.
Let me do the ASMR. I am successful.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't know how great that was.
We had a little ASMR conversation. You've never heard of it. We're going to probably work that into a podcast.
It's going to be a whole episode, definitely.
Yeah,
we're not working it in. Fun. She's going to be her own star.
I'll tell you what, if you stay at the end, I might tell you what ASMR is, if you stay with us.
Oh my goodness.
All right. The next one is find a cool community, and cool is your whatever you believe cool to be.
Could be Dungeons and Dragons
that's
to
right,
some.
It could be. It could be. It could be horse and buggy to others.
But it could be. Yeah.
As we said last week, we are tribal, and community is a great way to relieve stress. We're social creatures. But along with needing people to connect with, we can use our communities to motivate us into action and hold us accountable. And if you sign up to I remember when I agreed to do CrossFit with some people for 3 months, it is the hardest workout.
Yeah.
It's not harder than my early martial arts days, but it's close. And I knew that if I didn't show up, they're going to be going, where's Ron? So my
Yep.
fear of failure kicked in a positive way, and I showed up. But oh my God, it was tough. But I'm telling you, if I was not in a group, I would not have worked out that hard.
Oh, yeah.
So you can find just unique ways to motivate yourself. And there's also, in today's world, virtual workouts. My daughter, she puts in the garage, she's got a treadmill, and she puts a workout on the screen. She does the workout, the weights,
Yeah.
everything, very dedicated to it. So I guess in her mind, she visualizes she's right there in the group working out. But there's an app, Fit On app, which, connects you with other people, and you can do these workouts. There's just a lot of cool ways, if you can't leave the house, that you can still have some sense of community. And it's not just about working out. It's whatever, again, that you're into. It might be baking. It might be playing a game with someone. There's just so many virtual opportunities out there. Do what you need to do to stay motivated.
Yeah. It's amazing because, and this is loosely based off of this accountability, but my son, who played baseball and liked it for one season, begged us to stop. And so we listened to him, and he's in Taekwondo. I've shared that. He's absolutely loving it. He's testing for his yellow belt next week. And the wild thing is, even though, it's not a team per se, he is so motivated by showing up 2 days a week with relatively the same kids, and they're all going through this belt testing. And it's this sense of like that tribal sense.
Yeah.
There's also an accountability aspect to it, and this pride that goes along with it. He's been working his little butt off, stretching and learning Korean, learning how to count, learning all the steps. And this is the kid that we had to force to play catch in the backyard. So it really, really shows that when you find really something that motivates you, oh my gosh, stick with it. And that groups, like you're talking about, Ron, with what was it? The CrossFit.
Yeah.
There is that accountability when you actually go and other people are there. It's so great. I love it.
It really is. I remember when I had my own dojo, I was a karate instructor. You had no choice but to be there, but you still mentally had to motivate yourself. And a lot of times it happened when new kids came in just like that, and you could see the thrill in their eyes. That's why I would always have ranking students helping new students, because, it helped them stay motivated. There's an old Chinese proverb that says, he who teaches learns twice. And there's something that's very motivational. You've told me a few times when you're teaching a class, it motivates you.
Yes.
Like you love that.
I do love it. And talk about learn twice. I mean, I am learning so much that I definitely did not learn when I was actually going to school as a student. So yeah, it's incredible.
It's true.
I have a gym story. Don't let me forget to share it. It happened yesterday, but I'm gonna move on to focus on what you do focus on what you get to do, and basically stay positive. So this is number 5, a tip here, and it's important. So it's so easy to get caught up in the negatives, like I can't eat that right now. I've been doing keto for 2 months, and there's a lot that I look at and say, I can't eat that. But I'll tell you what, when I've gotten 8 pounds off and I feel amazing. And there's a saying, oh my gosh, I think it was like Jenny Craig Weight Watchers. And it was like, nothing tastes as good as being thin feels, or something like that. And it is spot on. So, instead of me focusing, I can't eat that slice of cake, or I can't eat that bread, or, hey, I'm not strong enough, that's not uplifting. And that can leave us feeling like there's no point in even trying. However, if we flip the switch and focus on what we have, for me, it would be like, I lost 8 pounds. My clothes are fitting me a lot better. I have more energy, right? I'm getting back to the gym. I feel stronger. So these are the positives. My energy levels are up. My mental clarity is high. And so I get to eat these nourishing foods, right? I'm not eating the sugar that I know I shouldn't be eating, right? So any progress is still progress. And simply having a positive attitude and a better body image can lead to healthy diet choices and lifestyle factors. These are all attainable and sustainable. And, suddenly you'll find yourself, I know I am referring to things and in not a negative way, right? It's just, you kind of just look at
Yeah.
bread now after, this is 2 months of keto, but I just look at it, just walk away. It doesn't even register with me anymore. So I don't know. Have you experienced that, Ron?
Yeah. No, I have. And all of this is just causing my brain to think back so many things. I used to make working out. I told you I used to tell a couple of my employees, the ones that were right next to my office, that I was going to hone the vessel. I used to
Yes, I love it.
have a buddy who was a huge weightlifter, and I would flex. My muscles weren't half what his were, but I would always say, "You don't get this way overnight." And
Yeah,
anyway, I would have a
I
lot of
love
fun
it.
with it.
Good
So,
banter.
hey, the next one is connect your habits, and we all know that it's difficult to start a new habit. There's
Mm-hmm.
places on the internet says it takes the average person 21 days to actually build a new habit. I don't know if that's true, but I've read it a lot.
Yeah.
I think it varies from person to person. A new habit is something that you can connect to an old habit, and it makes it easier. Let me give you an example. Let's say you have a habit that you're going to make your bed when you wake up. So as you make that bed, you add, and I'm going to do 10 push-ups. Or when you're brushing your teeth, you want to start meditating or praying, you put a sticky note, because you're going to have to
Mm-hmm.
look right at the mirror when you're brushing your teeth, and it's going to remind you that you want to meditate, and you do that. So
Right.
with these reminders, and again, once it becomes a habit, you don't have to have that sticky note anymore. Once you
Mm-hmm.
make that bed, as soon as you get it where it looks right, you know it's push-up time. That's what a habit is. It's becomes just a, without having to second guess and think about things. It's natural. And that's where we want to get with whatever those goals are. Another thing, as far as workouts, is if the workout's getting stale, maybe start writing your workouts down, challenging yourself, looking back at how you did this week. And I don't care if that's 10 minutes, do something, change it up,
Yeah.
and build those new habits, but connect them to old habits. This will work wonders.
Yeah. No, yeah, I love that. That's the way to do it too, is just build off of it.
Yeah.
And, something else to do is make a motivational hacks folder and make it an adventure. So we all have those meh days, where our heads feel like they're covered in fog. You've probably heard the term brain fog, excuse
Yeah.
me. And honestly, with keto, I feel like that brain fog is lifted. And that's the interesting thing. I guess, everyone reacts differently to carbs, but that has lessened so much for me. And sometimes it just means that we need to rest. Other times it means you're probably resting too much. You need to get up and get moving, maybe a workout or go on a walk. And, the problem that we're seeing a lot is peeling yourself away from that Netflix potato chip session, right? And, that's, I would say, 70% of our country is probably guilty of that. And, again, you can set yourself up for success by planning for these moments. Create a computer folder, or it can be an actual physical file that you want to keep. An email inbox folder or an actual paper folder, like I just said. I still like to, I don't know about you, Ron, I still like to have a pen in hand and a pad of
I
paper.
do.
Right. And I mean, that's why we made the planner, because we prefer the pen and paper over the digital, but we use both.
Kristin, I'm
Right.
writing right now. I put no chips and queso this evening.
Queso is so good, right?
Just a lonely night with Netflix. Okay,
I have to tell
I'm
you,
ready.
queso is keto friendly. You just have to dip vegetables in it.
Okay.
Fun note
All
to
right.
self. Yeah.
I'm going to have to look up keto. I've heard it so much.
Oh man. But whatever you're struggling to get down with, you have to just basically flip anything that's a negative for you. You want to make sure to find the positive, and you just have to find that balance between the two. And so I really feel like having that folder, those hacks that we talk about, it's when you start seeing yourself go in like one direction, these hacks will be a simple way to get you back on track.
Yeah. That's good stuff. Number 8,
Yeah.
visualize your personal victory. Our brain, and I've said this before, there's more negative words than positive words. Our brain wants to protect us. Our brain wants to give us comfort. We have to train the brain. We have to understand that sometimes comfort is actually an enemy and it's
Mm-hmm.
holding us back. In my book, I have 100 dirty lessons. The book's named same as the podcast. And dirty lesson number 17 says, if you prepare to win, most times you will. And I think in life, we just don't prepare to
Yeah.
win. As a matter of fact, we don't even think about winning.
What's up with that?
It's
Why is this
it's
society
true.
like that?
And
Yeah.
I think that's why people love sports so much. They
Mm.
get that dopamine drip. They're part of the action, when their team
Yeah.
wins, and they get those endorphins. It's just like almost like they're playing. So I
Yeah.
do think that has something to do with it. But so many times we have this negative perspective and we don't visualize victory. And a victory is what you make a victory. If it's going to the grocery store and getting your mail and stopping at this appointment, and you check off all three of those, make that a victory in your mind. You got a lot done today. Good job. Pat yourself on the
Right.
back. We forget to do that. And in life in general, and I'm trying to do this, Kristin, is being. We're human beings. It's
Mm-hmm.
being in the moment. Look at sights and smells and sounds and feelings, thoughts, like let it be rich. We only get one shot at this thing called life. And
Yeah.
I'm going to be totally honest. I spent a good bit of my time with either being overly ambitious, trying to be the best, or not maximizing the moment, maybe not breathing in the moment. And I don't want to be that person anymore.
Right. Right.
And Kristin, we had a meeting expanding forward operations, but
Yeah.
I was not nearly as motivating. It's not that I didn't want people to be motivated, but I'm trying to balance myself in life
Right.
and in business and whatever I'm doing. According to literature, the brain stimulates the same neural pathways regardless of whether you visualize yourself performing a task or you physically carry it out. There
Mm-hmm.
was a study once, and this is mind-boggling. They took 3 groups of basketball players. They had one group, they just took them in another room and just messed around, like played ping pong. They didn't mention anything. The other group, they took them in a room and they said, we want you to visualize yourself shooting 20 free throws. And I don't remember the number. I think it's 20. And it might have been 10. And we want you to visualize every shot you're making, every single shot that you shoot. They took the third group into the gym and they had them practice free throws. When they brought the 3 groups together, the group that shot the free throws and the group that visualized the 3 free throws were almost equal and even.
Wow. That's
The
huge.
third group didn't do well.
That's
That is
wild.
huge. We've got
Yeah.
to visualize success. You've got to
Yeah.
see that car you're wanting. You got to see that. And I know that gets a bad rap, but look, if you need something and you've worked hard, you deserve it. Visualize it. Kristin,
Right.
I'm wanting to buy a house, and I get on, and it's not even the right time yet, but I still get
Mm-hmm.
on, and I've been looking now for months, and I just look and I'm watching, seeing how the
Yeah.
prices are doing, making sure
Yes.
what I like, what area,
Yes.
and I am visualizing it because I want to
Yeah,
lease
that's
this
smart.
current place out and buy another place.
Yeah, you have to do that. I think that is the healthy way to do it. And not only are you working through your wants list, right? Like this is a want, this is something I'd like to have, location. But I've mentioned this numerous times, but when I was a competitive gymnast, I had a Bulgarian coach and he was a medalist in the Olympics and he was huge on visualizations. And I've also shared that he would say he took it to the extreme. Like one time I had to rip the bars, will rip the shreds out of your hands. And so I had a huge rip the size of a baseball, not even a joke. And it was a state competition. And he said, I want you to visualize that your hands are not attached to your body. And I did. And I went and did that routine. And it was not painful in the moment. But once I landed, all the pain came back. But visualization is actually, it's incredibly powerful. And I used to do that. To this day, while you were talking, Ron, I was visualizing my bar routine.
Yeah.
I can still see the bar routine because I had to visualize it over and over and over. So yeah, it's some powerful stuff. And, something, I'll move on to the next one. Let go of motivation just a little. So we've all been there. We procrastinate doing a workout or something else. And Maybe we aren't really wanting to trudge up Mount motivation with nothing to show for it, right? So when this happens, we start to overthink everything. It's also known as spiraling, right? People spiral out of control mentally. And we can go from maybe it won't matter anyways, there's not enough time, you just spiral and you come up with a million reasons why you don't have the time or wherewithal to do it. So instead of trying so hard to motivate yourself, get out of your head and into action. And, as Gen Z says, get out of your feels. So, yeah, I mean, hey, there's something to say there. Focus on one thing at a time. I think people my age more or less say like baby steps. I still say that. I even tell myself, like, you have 10 things to do today. You need to baby step through it because you can get overwhelmed if you don't. And remember, even the smallest steps lead to big steps. So do you ever have to self-talk baby steps at all with you, Ron, with
Kristin,
yourself personally?
it's so funny you asked me that. Last week was the most stressful week I've had since I retired and started the company.
Wow.
Some of the internal stuff. I've got a court hearing coming up. I didn't break any laws, people. Before your mind starts wondering, I didn't hang out with P. Diddy.
Oh my gosh. It reminds me of when my husband tells someone, yeah, I have court. And I'm like, people are going to think you're like a deadbeat or you did something. It's like, I'm a police officer. Can you?
Well, this is business related, but yes, I get it. The corporation, we incorporated forward operations. All of that paperwork's happening at once. I had coaching clients more than I've ever had in my life since I started the company. I'm sending out contracts, sending out proposals, discussing contracts. And it really did. The list started getting a mile long. And I felt myself, I went right back to about 2018 when I had 1,000 things going on. And I felt the same way. And I remembered I didn't even sleep that well. I don't know, maybe a Tuesday night or something. And I started thinking, what am I doing? So now I live by my calendar and my list, but I put numbers, I did a priority, and I kept telling myself one thing at a time. I got to get one thing at a time. And it's still going, Kristin, like I'm still in the middle of it because I got a message from the bank. They said that something went wrong with the corporation filing the business
There's always
account.
something. Yeah.
It is. But I'm sticking with, 1, 2, 3. Oh, by the way, there was a problem with my retirement income. Like it was, and I know people listening, you have things with the kids. Sometimes it just builds up, and that's when you got to breathe, take those moments. And instead of doing Netflix and queso and chips, that's when you're tested. That's when the motivation, you have to stick with your basics, stick with the plan. Because I caught myself, I really did want to just lay back and watch Netflix and eat Doritos. I mean, that's how I felt. So that's the times when it makes or breaks us. And if you do mess up again, don't beat yourself up, get back up and go back to it. That leads me into the next one. That's commit to 10 minutes. Kristin, I can't tell you how many living room workouts I've had. I keep boxing gloves. I've got weights over in the corner here that if I'm really, really busy, I still want to get something in.
Right.
So I'll do this 10-minute. I've worked out in hotel rooms when
I was just going to ask you, when you travel, do you work out in the hotel rooms?
Well, I usually go to the fitness center, but sometimes I don't know if you remember, I went to Austin, Texas a couple times, and it took me, I walked in my room at 10 o'clock at night, but I knew if I did nothing, I was so wired, and I was teaching 8 hours the next morning. So I did a chair, it wasn't chair yoga, but I was doing dips and I did push-ups and things. I took a hot shower and I slept okay. But a workout for me honestly does keep me balanced. Right. And yes, a harder workout is better, but if you're struggling in that area, start with 10 minutes and do that. Go for a walk. Maybe it's cleaning out the pantry. Maybe it's the motivation, but have something you're logging as a win. Give it 10 minutes and then increase the time that you're doing it, or maybe connect a new habit to the old habit.
Yeah.
And these things are built. We want you to be motivated. Okay.
Yeah. Kristin. No, exactly. What's wild, and I think I've shared this before, but my husband's been, we've been married 16, 17 years. Sorry. I actually don't remember. I'm
Oh
like
my
the dude.
God.
Anyway, long time. And he's been working out like 4 or 5 days a week the entire time, right? Which is great. But there was a time when I worked 6 days a week at the bank, and we had one day off together, and he would have to sleep because he had just worked the night shift. So we had like a half day off at the same time. And he would wake up at noon and go to the gym. And I used to get so pissed. I'm talking, we had major, major issues over this. And I can see, honestly, I can still see why I was ticked, but something I didn't know at the time, and we all grow in our relationships and we just mature, is, to your point, Ron, exercise for my husband is something that it's not a physical need per se. I mean, it's great, but it's for his mental health also. And I have since learned, I've done a lot of growth in the last 4 years in our marriage, and, just being home and being able to understand what makes him tick. And it was something that he absolutely needed for mental health purposes.
It's mine as well.
Yeah,
Absolutely. If I
I
don't
mean,
work
it's
out, I start to
huge.
get bottled up anxiety and
Right. Yeah.
frustration.
And I wasn't an understanding wife in that area, and I'll
And
totally
why you
admit it.
didn't go to the gym with him is beyond me. But,
Well, we have kids at home, right? I'm like, someone has to be with them. You know what was crazy? During COVID, they closed all of the daycares at the gyms, and at least
yeah.
here they never reopened them. And I feel so bad for the people that don't have the
Yeah.
option. But yeah, so it was just a frustrating time. But I now understand like the science and
Mhm.
the reason behind it, and I don't even mess with it anymore. It is what it is. He works out, and I just let it be, and we're great.
Yeah, not to get too technical, but we've said this before. You work out, you get endorphins, which is akin to a painkiller.
Yeah.
You get dopamine. Dopamine is also like taking a nerve medicine, a nerve type medicine. You get dopamine, endorphins, and when this chemicals release in your brain, it really is like you're taking a pill. It's
Mm-hmm.
equated to that, and I
Yeah.
just think that that's so cool. You remember we did, and if you want to listen to I'm proud of all our podcasts, but the Bring Humor Back, I turned the podcast into a training program and began to use
Yes.
it, and I think as far as beneficial, I think the listeners or the viewers that were in my training, they got as much out of that as any other training program that I've offered, because we need that so badly. So think
Yes.
about it. You're literally carrying your pain medicine, your nerve medication, you're carrying it within your body, and you can release it in a healthy way.
Yeah. What
It's
was the
very
name of that
cool.
episode again? It was, is humor allowed in the office
I
or
think it is
something?
humor still a thing, is
Is
what we
humor
called
still
it.
a thing?
And
Yes.
then my
Yes.
training is called Bring Humor Back. And that's
That's
the one,
great.
Kristin, I told you I ended with the tortilla slap. And oh my God,
Yes.
it was funny. It was so funny.
It's amazing. Yes. No, it's huge. I have to say something from for anyone who listened to the last episode, they'll get a kick out of this. So I brought up the fact that we had one, "Are you a leader in the bedroom?" And then I said, "Hey, just to clarify, that's actually about sleep." And we were joking because I'm the one who picked that title, trying to be edgy, ended up getting low views or listens. And I went and checked, because I check our stats. I'm addicted now. I check the stats constantly. And there are so many new downloads on that episode. So once I clarified that it's not about sex, it's about sleep, we got a lot more, which is kind of shocking. But hey, everyone's into understanding sleep health these days. So
That's a fact.
I thought that was humorous. I'm
Yeah.
like, look at you guys. All right. So another one here, celebrate small and large victories. And that's in our training. So we've talked about this before. Be your own biggest cheerleader. Give yourself recognition for all the hard work you're putting in. That is allowed, right? So all those little things, they add up. And rather than undermining them, applaud your efforts. You could be like, oh yeah, it's just a little this or just a little that. You don't want to dumb them down that way. You actually want to give yourself that recognition that you deserve. And the fact that you're even here reading this is a success, or listening to this is a success worth recognizing. I mean, because we're talking about here on our podcast, we have humor, you're learning, you're getting motivated, you get to know us and, different things that we've experienced in the workplace, both of us with a combined 50 plus years of leadership, real leadership. We were actually real leaders, folks, not just someone that says, hey, I'm a leader. We actually had teams reporting to us, right? So you get to listen to all of that. But the fact that you even take the time for yourself to come and listen to us, that's huge. That's a step in the right direction alone.
Kristin, I think about Cassie Roop. She's our Facebook administrator for the podcast group.
Yes.
And she will put up a picture running 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And when she trains for a marathon, I had the pleasure of doing some coaching stuff with her. And it was just exciting, but she listens to us while she runs.
Awesome.
So maybe this one will be good, Cassie. That's
a twofer.
A good one. It's a twofer.
Yeah, I love that. That's amazing. I wish, you know what, Cassie, that's awesome. Because I've never been a runner, never really been a 5 a.m.er either. So she's got two things on me.
I do some running, but it's not marathon. So this is important. It's a little different from all of them, but it's anticipate the ups and downs. We have said that life is going to come. So there's going to be ups and downs, and it may not be circumstantial. It might be internal. You just wake up and you just don't want to do anything. It's called being human.
Yeah.
And DL98 in my book, I used 2 dirty lessons in this. Always remind the teams that setbacks are temporary, but a winning attitude is permanent. So there's going to be those moments that you are not going to feel like doing anything, and you might skip a workout or you splurge or you do whatever. The thing of it is, do not waste your energy on beating yourself up. Use that amount of energy to go back to your plan, even if you have to start back small. Even if you feel terrible, you get back and do something. If you have to go back to the 10 minutes, you've done something.
Right.
And so get those bad thoughts out of your head, cut yourself some slack, take a break, just literally taking a break from that and just getting back to those healthy thoughts after everything we've talked about. Go back to that and it will get you going again.
It will.
The ups and downs always come.
I have to share, talking about getting going again. I went to the gym yesterday, and the cool thing for me is it's in walking distance. So I was like, instead of doing cardio, which I don't enjoy, I walked to and from the gym and just did weights at the gym. So it was like perfect for me. So I get to the gym and I have the personality at the gym. I don't want to talk to anybody. I literally just want to work out. I don't do anything on my phone. I'm one of those rare people that literally just goes there to work out. Everyone else seems to be socializing and texting. So I believe I have a look on my face, kind of like just don't talk to me,
RBF.
right?
Go ahead.
Yeah. And I intentionally put that on because I want to get my sets in and I want to keep my heart rate up. And if you come talk to me, my heart rate's going to go down, right?
Yeah.
Unless it's politics, then it might stay up. But so I just got there and I'm like, I'm going to be doing arms today, right? And I'm not wearing my wedding ring because when you're doing weights, that can pinch the crap out of your fingers. So I don't wear my wedding ring at the gym. So I see this guy out of the corner of my eye. This is that situational awareness, right? I'm like hyper aware that everywhere I'm going, every machine I'm going to, this guy is putting himself either in front of me or next to me. And I can feel him staring at me. It was really irritating. Why it was so irritating was it took him 45 minutes of stalking me in this way, right? Everywhere I went, he was right there. And then I'm on my last machine, last set, no joke. He peeks his head right in front of me. Hi, I haven't seen you around here much. Did you just join this gym? And I was nice because I'm not a nasty person, but I'm like, no, I just don't come very consistently, right? Going back to the consistency there, Ron. But what irritated me was, though, of course, by the time I get to actually finish my last set, my heart rate's totally down. He was hitting on me, obviously. I didn't have my wedding ring. I told him I'm a homeschool mom, so that really helped drive home that.
That's a turn
I'm
on.
like, yeah, he's like, what do you do? Homeschool mom. That means married, kids, and get away. But anyhow, the long story short is, if you're going to hit on somebody, please do it initially so we can move on with our lives versus stalking someone at the gym, waiting 45 minutes for them to get into their last set.
It's building up his nerve. Kristin, give the guy a break.
Gosh, so irritating. But anyways, that was me trying to get back in the habit of going to the gym, and that's what I got.
So, Kristin, I do the earbuds and I have stuff on, but the funny part is, sometimes, especially if I'm running outside, I might listen to Irish rock or maybe some pretty
Love that.
banging stuff.
Yeah.
But usually by the time I get to the fitness center, I've already put on a podcast. It might be a informational or a documentary. I'm listening about a KGB spy right now.
Nice.
But the funny part is everybody else is rocking out. You must go to a different type gym to me. People do not talk at my gym, and everybody's got their earbuds in.
Yeah.
But anyway, I started to act cool and just beat my head like I'm listening to something cool. Even though I'm such a nerd, I'm listening to some podcast or TED Talk.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
So let's end with this.
I'm visualizing that now. That is so
That's
great.
right.
Okay.
I got the groove. Okay. By the way, if you're listening, I was in perfect timing and I was busting a move. All right.
Amazing.
Motivation is a beautiful, powerful, attainable thing. Once your mind catches on, the body naturally follows. All it takes is a little bit of mindset work and get that feeling that you're ready to get down to business. So we've shared these tips, and here's one other thing to just think about as we close is only compare yourself to the person you were yesterday. Visualize what you want and write your own affirmation. Listen to this podcast 4 or 5 times if you have to, or if you're having one of those days, turn it back on. We have them. We know you have them, but the key is to life is that resiliency that we get back up. We start again. You don't have to start at the top of the ladder. It might be the bottom rung, but start climbing again. Things will go so much better for you.
Yes. I think that's fantastic. One day at a time, one step at a time, literally.
That's good. All right, everybody, be the leader you're meant to be.
We'll see you next week.
The Dirty Side of Leadership podcast is brought to you by Forward Operations. If you'd like to book Ron or Kristin for speaking events, training, or executive coaching, visit forwardoperations.com. Be the leader you're meant to be.